Welcome to the Backfield Buzz podcast, a part of the Hive Podcast Network. Cody Wiles, Logan Glover, and Andrew Foster here, keeping you up to date, all things NFL. And if you want to stay in the know, subscribe. That would help us out, right? Today, week week
Five,
five
five,
preview,
five.
fantasy and betting. We'll get into our betting struggles, but we're gonna start with the fantasy stuff because honestly, we've been pretty solid on it, if I do say so myself. Uh, Glover, let's just jump right into it. Starting, who are you starting at running back? We're gonna be starting and sitting RBs, wide receivers, and tight ends. Who's your start this week?
Going back to the well, I'm starting DeAndre Swift. He finally came onto the scene last week with a great performance against the Rams. It's another really easy matchup this week against the Panthers. So if he can, if the O-line can hold up a decent amount, and it should be able to with the injuries the Panthers have had, like Derek Brown being out really hurts that run defense. So I think this is probably a real easy matchup for Swift. So if you're someone who has Swift, start him this week, trade him then after that because his value should be at an all-time high.
Yeah, I don't think there's a better time to be high on DeAndre Swift than right now. He looked like the worst running back in football over the first 3 weeks of the season. Last week he broke out. I think he can do the same thing again this week.
Mhm.
DeAndre Swift. Hey, yeah, I mean, it's the Panthers, right? Like this Bears offense should look
Yeah.
the best it has. I mean, honestly, maybe you guys have like a Roma Dunze start in there, but honestly, you could look at a lot of the Bears offense here and maybe think a big week. All right. Frosty, who are you starting?
So I don't know if he's too good of a player, but he's the RB 26 right now, so I think it's reasonable. I'm starting Travis Etienne this week against the Indianapolis Colts. He hasn't hit 15 points in a game yet this year. He was hurt last week, so the usage went down, but the Colts are fifth most running backs against, or fifth most yards against by running backs so far this year. They got absolutely eaten alive by Joe Mixon and Josh Jacobs. I think Etienne could be in for a really, really big week against Indy and his first actual good week in fantasy this year.
Yeah, I mean the only running back Indy's been able to stop all year has been DeAndre Swift. So I imagine like the same thing with when Jacobs played. Jacobs had 13 points with a fumble and no touchdown. Like odds are he should just get a ton of work. And if he gets the receiving work, which yeah, Jacobs, that was the thing. Jacobs, no touchdown, a fumble, and no catches. And he hit over on the 10 points. And ETN should be in the same boat. And he's got the receiving work. He typically gets goal line work. It's more a question of how much the injury affects him and how much Tank Bigsby eats into that role because he's been getting more and more carries the last couple of weeks.
Limited participant at practice today, so Frosty might be getting another bye, I guess would be the word. But
Do
yeah,
I have a backup one. Do you want me to say the backup one? If he's out, I have a second one.
I think that's fair.
Okay, my second one will be Najee Harris against Dallas.
Okay.
I think I'm gapping on his name. Cordero Patterson and Jalen Warren are both hurt right now. The Cowboys are probably going to be without Micah and DeMarcus Lawrence. The run defense looks abysmal except against Devin Singletary. So I think this could be an upside week for Najee.
real quick, who do you got in that one? Do you think Cowboys are winning?
I think it's gonna be close, but I'm taking the Cowboys.
Okay.
They,
Shocker.
they should, but it's gonna be a ugly
Should.
football game.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be bad.
We'll see if ETN plays. I mean, I've sat him twice already. Obviously I'm not the biggest ETN guy. Uh, I'm going to be starting Chuba Hubbard versus the Bears. So he's been great these last couple of
Okay.
weeks, to be honest. Back-to-back 100-yard rushing games, back-to-back weeks with a tutty. Uh, the Bears have also allowed the second most rushing touchdowns. So I'm hoping the Red Rifle can get them down into the red zone and Chuba Hubbard can punch one in the Canadian. Um, Bears are also top 10 in average fantasy points allowed to RBs. Uh, so we'll see. The snap percentage just keeps going up for Hubbard. He's even getting work in the receiving game. 5 targets in week 2 and 3, 4 last week, and then 4 catches, 5 catches, and 4 catches. So, I mean, he's getting work. And honestly, if you own Chuba Hubbard, like he's RB 15 right now. I mean, I could just see that keep going up.
Yeah, I had Chuba Hubbard and I dropped him after week one because I figured, oh, it's toast and he's only gonna be it won't matter because Brooks will come back and take the role. But now I'm a guy sitting here with Brooks in a dynasty league going, man, is Brooks just gonna come back and take the starting role right away? Because Chuba's looking really, really good and it
Why
really
would they rush Brooks
informative
back?
decision on my part.
Why would they rush Brooks back? Like I got him
Exactly.
in a
Yeah,
12 man, I believe, and
yeah.
uh I'm thinking of dropping him.
There's just no
So
need to rush him because Chuba Hubbard's playing so well and he's got another great matchup. Then it gets a little harder for him down the stretch, but I think he's been pretty good this year.
right. All right. Now we're sitting some dudes. Hopefully we don't. You know what? We got through the starts without a white mention. Hopefully we can. This can be a white free week, please. I don't know how much more times we can talk about Rashad and Zamir White. All right,
Uh,
I think we all understand where these guys are at. But Glover, who are you sitting?
I mean, Zamir White at this point is more of like a drop than a sit. Like
You can't. Yeah, I won't even allow the Zamir
yeah,
White
no,
in.
I've been going back and forth on if I should drop him, man, but I'm still holding out hope for a bit of a breakout game. No, so for my sit, I'm going with Zach Moss against the Ravens. We talked a lot about the Ravens' pass defense being pretty terrible last week. The run defense, though, has been amazing all year. I mean, the defensive line has been the best position group for Baltimore all season, and you've got Roquan and Kyle Hamilton coming down to help stuff the run. It's just a nightmare for running backs in general. And then you look at what James Cook did last week, really nothing. 9 carries for 39 yards. Didn't get any real work in the receiving games again. It's hard to get those quick out routes, those quick flat routes going for the running backs when Kyle Hamilton is just gunning down at them at top speed. And the other thing to consider is Chase Brown starting to eat more and more into Zach Moss's carries. And Chase Brown looks really explosive and really good, and he's younger. He's cheaper. He could be the long-term option for them. So it wouldn't surprise me to see him keep eating into that snap share. And then the bad matchup is just even worse for Zach Moss.
Yeah, Zach Moss was also my set. I think this is just a terrible matchup for him. And like you said, the thing that worries me the most is Chase Brown. They were even in carries last game, and Moss only had one more target than Brown did, 4-3. So the goal line work was Chase Brown too. Like it's a recipe for disaster this week for Zach Moss, I think.
Baltimore is only allowing 57.8 rushing yards per game. Second is allowing 75. So clearly shutting down the run. And to be fair, like to the Ravens, the reason why they're allowing so many receiving yards per game is partly, well, one, they are weaker in the back end, but also just because teams can't run on them, so they're forced to pass on them more. But nonetheless, so both of you guys going Zach Moss, eh? I did think
Yeah.
about Zach Moss. We haven't had the trifecta yet. Could have been, but I'm sitting Devon Achan. Uh, it's like, oh, what are we doing here with this Miami offense? Like, come on, it's now affecting Achan. Back to back stinker weeks for him. Not getting over 10 points, and it's just like teams are now targeting, like, are able to lock in on Achan more because they know that Dolphins need to run the ball, and the O line sucks, so they can't even like they can't do anything. He's only averaged 3 yards per carry in one over 3 yards per carry in one game this season, which is not what you like to see. And New England is also pretty solid against the run. Ninth fewest rushing yards per game, and Jalen Wright saw an uptick last week. Nearly 50% of the snaps too. Mostert might be coming back as well. Ooh, a lot of red flags for me on Devon A. Chan right now.
Yeah, I didn't like Devon Achane going into the year because of the high risk, high reward kind of player he was. And then you look at, Raheem Mostert's going to take carries and they drafted Jalen Wright, which is like kind of a weird draft pick to me, kind of a weird pick to make because you already have this 22-year-old stud young running back and you draft a 21-year-old. Like, what's the benefit
I
there?
like him though. I do like him.
Yeah, I like Jalen Wright a lot. That's the thing. He's a great talent. It's just it's a weird situation for him to be thrust into as the RB3 with the pick that was used on him. But yeah, I was hoping Achan without Tua, Achan would be the big benefactor. But obviously the O line can't hold up enough to make the run game even remotely dangerous.
Yeah, that's it. That's what it looked like was they were going to lean on HN. He was going to get like 30 touches and like 150 yards a game
Mhm.
minimum. And instead, the O-line just lets people walk past them to tackle him in the backfield. It seems like every single run he takes goes negative right now.
Yeah.
All right, on to the wide receivers. Frosty, who are you starting?
I'm starting Khalil Shakir against the Texans this week. So we talked about it a little bit. Brian Thomas Jr. was very open against the Houston Texans last week. Trevor Lawrence is just not throwing the ball very well. Khalil Shakir has been Josh Allen's wide receiver one. He led in targets in weeks 2 and 3. He led in receiving yards last week. I think he's established himself as the clear one, and I think Allen's going to lean on him a lot this game against Houston.
Do you have a backup? He
No,
hasn't practiced all week. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe he'll be good to
go to Glover, and then I'll get another one.
I don't think you need. I think he will play, but just because they're playing the Texans, I've been more like familiar with like their injury report. A lot of names popping up on the Bills injury report, which like Ed
There's
Oliver
been
appeared
so many.
today. Rapp still hasn't practiced. Yeah, Deion Dawkins has been limited, so we'll see. But I mean, Shakir played on the ankle
hmm
all last
Yeah,
game, but he hasn't practiced this week, so maybe they're just like resting him. But like,
I think it's more just to let him see what he just let him heal, don't rush him. He's probably still going to find a play, but it's more so no need to risk re-aggravating it in practice.
if he's playing though, I do like it. I mean, he's over 10 points in every game so far. He really is the number one. I mean, we've mentioned Nick Frias a couple of times on this podcast. He he chose the two wrong guys to be the wide receiver one. He thought Curtis Samuel and Keon Coleman were going to be the beneficiaries. It's been Khalil Shakir.
Yeah.
So
Curtis Samuel, 1,200 yard season.
does he even have 100 all-purpose
Probably
yards
No,
not.
yet?
no, he's got like 40.
No, yeah, I
Got a big
really
second half.
you're going to be a real big second half. The other thing, like I thought Keon Coleman just off talent would take the wide receiver one role. That's what I was putting my stock into. But I knew Shakir would at worst be the two because he's the one who had the rep with Josh Allen. He's one of the chemistry, the talent. He was still young, and he was their wide receiver one at the end of last season. So Shakir's proven that he can be the one in this offense with the way they spread the ball around. So yeah, I like Shakir.
Well, I mean, Frosty, you mentioned okay, so maybe I need to back up. Maybe I'm being a hypocrite. I'm starting Brian Thomas Jr. Is that like too like is he like too good? I don't maybe not yet.
I don't think so because the targets are there, but he's not actually putting up like massive fantasy numbers yet. And
Yeah,
And the reason I'm starting him is because it's not him. It's not his fault that he's not putting up.
yeah,
It's Trevor Lawrence. But I'm gonna start Brian Thomas Jr. regardless of who's throwing him the ball. Like, yeah, like you said, Frosty, we talked about it. I watched a lot of him last week. He was literally open every play, unfortunately. And Gabe Davis and Evan Ingram are banged up. Maybe they'll both play, so it could eat into Brian Thomas Jr. a little bit, but I'm just banking on him just being the wide receiver one going forward. Colts are near the top of the league in receiving yards and average fantasy points allowed. I mean, if you're starting ETN, I'm starting Brian Thomas Jr. This Colts defense is going to be tested on the Backfield Buzz podcast. I mean, but yeah, Brian Thomas Jr. Last week, 9 targets, 6 catches for 86 yards, and a touchdown. I think he's going to be solid, even if Lawrence is going to miss him. Like the last 2 weeks, he has 9 targets in each week, 5 catches 2 weeks ago, 6 catches last week. He's not dropping the passes. It's literally just Lawrence air mailing him or underthrowing him. So uh, if the ball is gonna if it's in his actual catch radius, I think he's gonna catch it. So give me BTJ.
yeah. I like BTJ a lot. He's a guy I kind of wanted to try and pick up in a couple leagues, but I don't think it's going to happen because of how good he's been. The guy I'm going to start is another guy I want to be able to try and pick up before he keeps going off is Jackson Smith and Jigba. He looks so good under their new OC, Ryan Grubb, and he's finally being used as the true weapon he is. He's the wide receiver two in this offense now, ahead of Tyler Lockett. 12 targets against Detroit last week. He had 16 targets against New England, two dud weeks in between them, but against two good defenses in Denver and Miami. So better matchups. The Giants have a really weak secondary, like really, really weak. And if Deontay Banks is going to be following DK Metcalf, which even if he does, DK Metcalf should be able to work all over Deontay Banks. But JSN should be open. He's been on the field a ton, running an immense amount of routes. Like he's not just sitting there blocking or on the field for run plays or whatever. He is on the field, he's running routes and he's getting targets and getting open consistently. So I really just like him. He's a target machine, so PPR monster right there.
What a what a questionable hire by the Bears.
I
Like
don't get it. It doesn't. And JSN, he himself said it in the offseason. He's like, I don't know about this hire. It's true.
there's a graphic about Jackson Smith and Jigba's routes with Shane Waldron last year and with the new OC this year, and it's just like the old one, it's like some hooks and like a post, and like that's all the routes he ran. And then this year, it's just they're moving him all over the field. They're letting him come across the field. Like, let's use his speed, let's use his route running ability. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad that he's looks good because a lot of people liked him and didn't really have the best rookie season, but I mean, for Frosty, I think he's arrived now, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think so. Before DK started going crazy this year, I thought after this season JSN was going to be the one in Seattle. I think he's the most complete receiver in that receiving room still. DK might be just too dominant of a deep threat to be able to let JSN be the one, but I think JSN is still the most complete receiver in that room.
Yeah, I've always like the past couple of years since his good first 2 years, I've been really low on DK Metcalf, especially in terms of fantasy value. But this year he's just been a whole nother beast. Like he's just so dominant. And while as you brought up the route tree that from JSN, there's the same thing that goes back to DJ Moore. You look at DJ Moore's route tree before Shane Waldron with Luke Getsy, who's also not a good OC. Like that's not a good hire. And it was an insane amount of deep balls up the sideline through the middle, everything you can imagine. And now with Shane Waldron, it's a couple hooks, couple screens, and that's it. He doesn't go deep. He doesn't get any real targets, no real room to make run after the catch. It's purely just screen routes. And it doesn't work. It's just a terrible system.
I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, we're just ragging on Waldron, but I mean there's a little bit of a pattern,
Oh, yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
as a DJ Moore fantasy owner who had super high hopes for that DJ Moore Caleb Williams connection, I'm extremely annoyed watching those games and seeing my wide receiver one run three screen routes every drive.
Well, I wish I would have realized this when I traded DK Metcalf away, but I got Jaden Reed in return. So, and this was in Dynasty. This is in a
Yeah,
Dynasty league.
yeah.
So, honestly, not that bad. All right. Sitting. I mean, Glover, are you sitting DJ Moore?
No, no, I'm not saying DJ Moore. I need DJ Moore. This one kind of fall might it might fall into the 2 week to sit, but I think considering the situation, I think it'll be fine. It's Jacoby Myers. He'll be the wide receiver one this week with Devontae Adams likely missing again and all the trade rumors going around. And if he's the wide receiver one, he gets Pat Surtain. And I didn't trust Garrett Wilson to beat Pat Surtain. I certainly don't trust Jacoby Myers to beat Pat Surtain. He might not get a single catch. So yeah, if you have Jacoby Myers, this is a week to sit him. He hasn't been excellent this year, but he's getting tons of targets, especially as the one with Devontae Adams out. 10 targets last week and 9 targets the week before. But no matter how many targets he gets this week, I just don't think it's gonna be enough to get past Pat Surtain.
Yeah, I do think Sertan's either going to be on him or Trey Tucker. And it's
Hmm.
basically 50-50 which one of them is going to be able to get the ball this game.
Yeah.
Because whoever Sertan's on is just not going to touch the football.
So I wanted to sit Devontae Adams, but I mean I don't think he's gonna
I
play.
don't know.
So yeah, Denver's top three in receiving yards allowed per game with New York. Do you guys know who's allowing the least most passing yards this season? Kind of shocking when I took a look at it.
Cleveland. Well, I'm gonna shoot Cleveland. Actually, no,
Cleveland's
they
in the
didn't take
top.
Dallas week one, so it couldn't be
They're,
Cleveland.
they're in the top 10, but the Tennessee Titans allowing
Huh.
they're allowing the least amount of passing yards per game. So
It's because nobody passes in the second half because they're already up 20.
That's fair enough.
Houston Texans are fourth, by the way.
Just had to throw that in there.
All right. Um, So Frosty, who are you sitting?
This might be the same thing. We talked about it off air. We agreed that because he's the wide receiver one now in the offense, I can sit him. I'm sitting Xavier Worthy. Um, he could he could beat the 10 points on one play, realistically. Like it's a risk to sit him because if he goes crazy, he goes crazy. But I trust New Orleans to force Patrick Mahomes to work underneath, force Kansas City to try and run the ball with their multitude of running backs, which I think they're going to try and do now, with the trio that they have back there. So I think Worthy could catch one deep shot and make me miss this pick, but I'm not confident in Xavier Worthy this week.
Yeah, I'm extremely curious to see how Worthy does with all the losses in the room and if he can take over as a true like reliable option. It's gonna be more so is he going to continue to be boom or bust, or is he now gonna have a stable floor? Because right now his floor is 0 and his ceiling is 25. Like that is the floor gonna rise up a little bit with the lack of targets being thrown around? 'Cause he hasn't seen over 4 targets in a game this year, yet he has two over 15-point games. So he's gonna be really interesting to see how he develops as the only receiver healthy in this offense.
We'll get to the betting in a little bit, but just so the line for this 43 and a half points, is it crazy to take the under? Like you would think like, okay, Saints had the real like they had a real great start offensively. They've cooled down, and then the Chiefs like haven't been putting up a ton of points, even though like that's what you would think when you think of Chiefs. I don't know, kind of like the under in that one.
I don't mind it because the Saints defense, thinking about it, they match up really well against the Chiefs. Like Marshawn Lattimore can play Xavier Worthy, and even if Xavier Worthy can beat Lattimore deep, Tyrann Mathieu sitting back there to help out. And Demario Davis at linebacker is going to really help contain Travis Kelce. So, and then the Chiefs defense, we know it's great. Steve Noel is a genius. So I think that with the way New Orleans matches up against the Chiefs offense, it's not a bad shout.
And
Was
Mahomes,
was
yeah.
Tyrann Mathieu on the Chiefs when Tyreek Hill was on the Chiefs?
I believe they were there at the same time. Yeah.
So who knows how to guard a speedy Chiefs receiver more than Tyrann Mathieu?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and Mahomes has
I like the under.
and Mahomes hasn't like I mean Mahomes has been one
He's
of the
been bad.
worst QBs
Yeah.
this
His
year.
most
Like
significant play this year has been hitting Rasheed Rice.
so yeah, just something to think about. My sit so, we're throwing out Jacoby Myers and Xavier Worthy. Okay, let me put my let me put some real
Yeah.
meat on the table here.
Uh-huh.
I'm sitting Brandon Ayuk. Which
Again.
yes, again. Um, hasn't cracked over 10 fantasy points in any game this year. And that was with everybody banged up.
Yeah.
Kittle's back, Deebo Samuel's back, everyone is back healthy. And now you're adding Jawan Jennings, who is just Brock Purdy's like secret admirer. Like, I don't know. He's just no matter who's on the field, Jawan Jennings is getting targets. Um, so like that's basically it. Like, that's the argument. I mean, there's just so much to go around. They want to run the ball with Mason as well, who's just getting great production as well. Cards are middle of the road and receiving yards, average fantasy points, and touchdowns to wide receivers allowed too. So nothing like they're not like stopping wide receivers, but middle of the road, a lot of targets to go around, and he just hasn't looked good, to be honest. So I'm sitting at you.
You know, it's almost like those 3, 4 months of training camp and practice are there for a reason. You probably shouldn't skip them. Like he looks terrible. He looks so rusty. He's not getting open. He's dropping balls constantly. Like he doesn't look like Brandon Ayuk. And that's what happens when you miss an entire offseason program. Sure, you got paid, but like, man, is that a good thing you got paid? Because if you had this season without before getting paid, you weren't getting that money because this has been terrible for Ayuk.
Well, is this not also Brock Purdy's first healthy training camp? Because he was coming off the was it ACL or Achilles or UCL or
Oh, it's the
something that he
UCL. It was the
the
UCL.
UCL in the championship in the NFC championship game. And I think he
Yeah.
missed the start of training camp last year. So this is his first full training camp. And you're sitting out. He didn't have the chance to make any kind of a rapport with Brandon Ayuk over it. And he got that with Juwan Jennings. And I think that's kind of
Yeah.
showing now.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Let's move over to this dangerous tight end position where I mean it's just shots in the dark, really. Like we'll try to provide analysis, but I mean, just looking at what Glover did last week, I mean, both his start and sit had 0 points. So that's
Like,
it's a not to rag on you, Glover, but
no,
it
I
really
don't
just
get it.
it does it
Oh yeah.
capture like what the tight end
Oh
position
yeah.
is. So take the floor.
Like part of the problem is you're sitting there going for your start and you're like, it's either they're too good to be able to start or they just suck and there's no way they can be a top 12 tight end. And it's the same thing with the sits. They either just suck or there's no way they can't be a top 12 tight end with how little the competition is at the top of this position. So shots in the dark, I'm throwing out Tucker Kraft this week as my start. I'm shocked he took over for Luke Musgrave as the tight end one, and he is seeing an insane amount of snap share. 96%, 80%, 67%, 86%. He's the tight end one, and Jordan Love loves him. His best 2 games have been with Jordan Love starting, and he was a monster last week. 17.3 points with a fumble. I really like Tucker Kraft rest of season as a potential startable tight end because of how dreadfully bad this position is.
I
Yeah,
like it.
I do too. I think I got Tucker Kraft in one league off of waivers after last week, so I hopefully he's good. Hopefully we can hit on something for the tight end position.
I mean, it's interesting how this Packers like receive like it was one thing that we were talking about. This Packers receiving core hierarchy like is really starting to iron itself out. Like Jaden Reed is up there. I mean Dontavian Wicks, who honestly he was probably one of the I would not expect him to be the number two. Basically, I know there was even the tight end battle, and now Tucker Kraft is probably number three in just the whole offense in general. Watson and Dobbs haven't looked the best, but.
I think the weird thing with it was last year was Love's first full season as a starter, and so many of these receivers were just young, but not like high talent. Like they weren't like first round draft picks. They were young, middle of the road draft picks that you weren't sure how it was going to shake out, who was going to blossom, who was not, who was going to fill what role. And it was the same with these tight ends. So like you had uh 4 receivers and 2 tight ends, 6 options that could have shooken out in any order in a hierarchy and it would have made sense, you know. But I think Jaden Reed's the one, Wicks is the two, and then you know
I'm
Dobbs.
out on Christian Watson. I'm completely
Yeah.
out on Christian Watson. I loved
Watson.
him coming into the draft. Hasn't worked out. I think a lot of
Uh,
people kind of maybe saw that it might not work out, and that's why he fell a little bit. But I'm
I
out.
think at this point, with the amount of other weapons, Watson's become the red zone guy. That's his real. He makes jump ball catches in the end zone, and that's really all he's been doing. And Dobbs is a much more well-rounded receiver than Watson is.
I mean,
And
Frosty, he can't stay healthy.
exactly. So he did this massive, the big story. I think it was at the University of Wisconsin. He did the hamstring
Hmm.
training thing, and I bought into it. I was fully on it. I thought Christian Watson was going to play 17 games this year. I thought he was playing all season. He's already hurt. And even if he's the end zone guy, I think Dobbs is a better end zone guy. He's built like a tight end and moves like a receiver. He's like 6'4". Like I think I think Christian Watson needs some healthy games in Green Bay for him, and I think eventually he gets traded out once he gets healthy.
I think I'm out on him in Green Bay. A change of scenery, depending if it's the right situation, I think would reignite that for me. But for right now, just no.
Yeah.
The funniest thing about it is he's 25 and he's the oldest one of those 6 players. Everyone else is younger. Like he's the vet in that room right now.
It's gonna be what it's gonna be. All right, Frosty, who are you starting at tight end?
Uh, I'm starting Pat Freiermuth. He's got a decent floor as a tight end. He finally had an actual upside game. It was 57 yards and a touchdown last week, but it was the Colts. As we've been ragging on for like the first half of this video. Um, the Cowboys defense is really banged up, especially up the middle with their D line. Like it's gonna be tough.
But we
And I
got
think
MVP DeMarvion Overshone at linebacker. What?
okay. I will say with the stars off the field, if you watch the Cowboys game, just watch how he moves around the
No, he
field.
was good. I actually no,
He
like to be fair,
he
he does
looks
look really good.
he looks so good right now. He's played so well, especially because Eric Kendricks cannot move right now.
Well,
They
yeah.
signed that man with no knees left.
The, the thing with Pat Fryermuth is it just he encapsulates the tight end position. That was his first 8+ point performance last week. He's the tight end 5. He had 6.7, 7.9, 7.3, 16.7. He's the tight end 5. It takes one good week with the injuries to tight ends and the just terrible tight ends to get into that range. For Fryermuth all season for him, the whether he'll be a startable player or not, it's all going to rely on his touchdowns. If he scores a touchdown, he's good. Otherwise, he'll get 4 catches for 20 yards, and that'll be that.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd be hard pressed to have anybody in the Steelers offense get a touchdown right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm starting to kind of Conklin. Like, I can't believe I'm doing this, but like you said, like Conklin, week
He's
one,
0 for 2 for me.
I'm going to him this week because I mean, you were talking about Firebooth had one good week and he's tight end 5. Like Conklin is tight end 18, which like doesn't jump off the page, but it in 3 out of 4 weeks he's combined for what is that like 9 points,
Less
and
than
then
10 points.
yes, and 1 week was solid, but only had 4 catches for 17 yards last week, but was tied for the team high in targets with 8. So I we'll see. We'll see. I really didn't even know what else to do, to be honest with you guys. But uh, Vikings are inside the top 10 in receiving yards, TDs, and fantasy points allowed to tight ends. Good enough for me, Conklin. That's where we're at. But sitting wise, Kyle Pitts, man, get him. I'm putting him on
Yeah.
the bench.
Yeah.
I'm sitting Kyle Pitts. I'm willing for all fantasy owners, just like if he goes off on your bench, you can sleep at night. I think, right? Until he proves it, I think you're fine sitting him and taking a shot on something. Like if you were able to pick up a Tucker Craft off waivers, like I tried to, but it didn't work out for me. But like, I mean, Pitts didn't even get a catch last week. I mean, it's just he only has 8 catches all year. Like Darnell Mooney, Ray McLeod are getting more targets. And then Tampa Bay is also towards the top of the league in receiving touchdowns allowed to tight ends and fantasy points allowed to tight ends defensively in the good way or in the point I'm trying to make. So yeah,
Yeah, Kyle Pitts was my sit. I'm considering changing it, but I'm just gonna stick with Kyle Pitts. I'll just go with Kyle Pitts. And do we get the trifecta?
We have the trifecta.
Oh wow, okay,
Yeah, man.
yeah, I'm going Kyle Pitts. I mean, he's the one. I will say the 1 week I sat him, that was the only week he had over 10 points. Was the week I sat him.
week 1. But he got a
Yeah.
touchdown and then hasn't done anything. He wasn't even good in that game. Like that was the
No,
only game he's like 3 catches for 26 yards and a touchdown.
he just and
Without the touchdown, he has exactly the same stat line as he's had all year.
and the touchdown was he was so like
It
standing
wasn't even
one
him. Yeah.
like 6 feet around him. Nobody was near. He didn't run a route. He just walked into the end zone and caught a ball. I could have caught that touchdown. It was
Yeah.
insane. And
That's
then but
I
I gotta. So I'm a Kyle Pitts owner. So do I start Kyle Pitts? Do I start Cade Otton? That's the decision I'm making for tonight.
start Kate Otten.
hate on.
Cade Otton. That's where I'm thinking
Yeah.
I'm going then.
Have you seen what Kate Otten has done the
Cade
last
Otton's
two
been good. I
weeks?
just picked him up of waivers in the Dynasty League.
Yeah.
So I
Uh,
got a 25-year-old tight end who could make me trade Kyle Pitts away.
Guess who had him at the start of Dynasty? Who drafted him? I had Kate Otten. After 2 weeks, he lost points in week 2. So
Yeah.
after the first 2 weeks, he had 1.1 points in total. And then I don't know what happened, Baker Mayfield. Like, why'd you start targeting him all of a sudden as soon as I drop him? Then he's had 17 targets the last 2 weeks, 13 catches for 99 yards. Please start Kate Otten, Glover, please.
The only thing that's making me doubt is I'm playing in the Tank Bowl right now. It's me versus Justin. We're both the two weakest teams
You're
in the
about to get
league.
investigated, fined, and for
Well,
for,
he's got
for
a
Yeah,
70
tanking.
we
lineup
need
because
to
right
make a
now I'm trying to
rule
win by
about that.
70 because he's got 3 guys on bye starting. So he better start his damn lineup. I'm not letting this fly in the tank off.
Who I'm playing is maybe John's entered the tank race too because he has Goff and Laporta just still in his starting lineup. and they are unbiased.
He's also been brutal with some of the injuries he's been getting, so he's kind of
Oh
forced
yeah.
himself into the tank bowl. I was just there.
You guys are about to get investigated
Hey,
for
I've been a clean owner. I've been starting my guys, and that's that. At least I'm not starting anyone on bye this week. I've been making moves, I'm active.
uh we need to we actually there needs to be a buy-in. You guys are tanking freely. This isn't fair. You
That's
need
what
to there
I
has to be a
thought we
penalty.
had a buy-in.
We're
To
establishing
be
it.
honest,
I'm telling everybody we're doing it because you can't be tanking freely here.
I
Yeah,
thought
that's
there
what
was
I'm
a
saying.
buy-in
It's no
too.
fair.
I thought there was
Like
a buy-in
what
too.
am I trying to win for? What am I
Pride,
Exactly.
getting out of this?
Exactly. It's
pride.
the league is
I,
pushing
I
towards bad teams.
I will say
Yeah,
I was tanking whether buy-in or not. I thought there was a buy-in and I was still tanking you. My team sucks. I did not
I'm
care.
we need to do a buy-in each year. It's a dynasty league. We do a buy-in each year.
Uh,
I think that's the best way.
hey, I'm on
I
board with
agree.
that. I'm tanking regardless because my second round pick was injured after week one because I got Puka Nakua and I drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. in the first round. My team was built to tank. Like I was never planning on winning.
No, let me pull up Glover's dynasty team because it is fucking abysmal, fellas. It's so bad. Let me see if I can pull it up here. All right, Glover, maybe I know you probably have it up.
Yeah, I got it
just
here.
just go through. Oh yeah, Puka and the and the Maserati.
Yeah.
Uh, Jaden Daniels and James Cook, honestly, and Marvin Harrison.
And
That's
Puka Nakua. The
yes,
future is bright for this squad.
but
For now sucks.
you've double dipped on the Colts, Downs and Pittman. I mean, Wicks all of a sudden is looking
I
like
traded
something.
flipped Swift for Wicks, baby. Got Kyle Pitts though, so that's a little questionable. You
We'll
know,
see. Honestly,
Chase
your team has
Brown.
looked better over. Honestly, you got likely to. Honestly, maybe I don't think you're the worst team in the league now,
I think I
actually.
got a bright future.
All right. Best bet time. It is the portion of the podcast where we talk betting. Hasn't been we've been losing money. Uh Respectfully, straight up. So fade us, or is this the week it all changes?
Certainly hope so.
If if I go 0 for 5 to start the season, I'm gonna be very upset.
So yes, we are both 0 and 4. Glover is 2 and 2. So he's on the
2
board.
and 10. 2 and 10 as a squad, huh?
2 and 10 as a podcast is pretty
That's a
like
tough
okay,
one.
lock in. Lock in, fellas. Come on. Let's go here. This is the week. This is the night. This is the podcast where it all changes. Uh, we'll leave Glover for last. So viewer retention, they stay longer to get the inside scoop. So
Yeah, because I've been so successful.
500.
Uh,
At least you got to win.
Yeah.
You can frost your 0 and 8. So Frosty,
That's so bad.
what are
Um,
you best bet today or this week?
Packers -3 against the Rams.
I like it.
I think the Packers with Jordan Love, I think they're gonna come out strong. Jordan Love found his groove in the second half and he looked unreal. The Rams defense has been suspect all year. They just lost to the Bears by more than 3. And you're telling me the Packers will not beat them by more than 3. I'm taking Packers -3.
I like it. I really do. Glover, how do you feel?
I think that's pretty good. I think the Packers should beat the Rams by that much. But we've had bad luck betting on the Packers and betting on the Rams in the past, so who knows?
I mean, Love's going to be a bit more comfortable coming back from the injury. And then the Rams have just been so up and down, but uh they're still really hurt. But I like it. I like it. Um I mean I want to provide more analysis, but it's like I don't even know. Like I feel like I rationalize the picks every week and then it just doesn't hit. Um is there anything else you were thinking about?
I every ounce of me wanted to take Cowboys money line, but I
Oh
didn't do it just
boy.
because we're so hurt.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I thought about Packers. I thought about Broncos 2.5 over the Raiders. I like Denver. I, I like okay. I, maybe not like Denver, but like that defense is sneaky solid, dude. Like really solid.
They're
Um,
actually like I would say bordering on being a top five unit right now.
it's just the offense, man, which is like I'm afraid, but if the Raiders are gonna have no Devontae Adams, ah, I don't know. We'll see. The O line is like not even terrible either. The RB room's a mess, but um, thought about that. I'm not gonna do it though. Thought about Manders -3, getting on the Manders
Don't
love.
mind that. Against the Browns?
It feels like a trap though, does it
Yeah.
not? I don't like how the line's -3 as well, which kind of scares me. Um, thought about Jags -2.5 as well. You see how
Man,
like bin I'm getting into? Like I was all over the map this week. Well, you don't like Jags -2.5?
I don't know, man. I liked Colts plus 2.5. That was
Well,
my second pick.
A-Rich might not play.
I
Taylor
don't
might
I
not
To
play.
be honest,
Yeah, but is
doesn't
is there a
matter.
better player in football than Joe Flacco on a tier three team right now?
Joe Flacco against that secondary. Ooh, baby. Like I like the Colts. They're not my pick, but they're a pick I considered.
Okay, well then I didn't go Jaguars. I thought about it though. Interesting though. On opposite sides of that, low key, like I saw that the Bengals at home with Joe Burrow healthy against the Ravens win. Like I think they've won the last 3 or 4 meetings at home with Joe Burrow playing.
We always split. Yeah.
But I landed on the Minnesota Vikings -2.5 over the New York Jets,
Yeah.
which I think I feel happy about. Honestly, if this is going to be the week where the Vikings lose, I'm okay with it because um the Jets just got bagged up by the Denver Broncos last week, and they're going to get bagged up by the Vikings. Hopefully, I would assume that's what I'm betting on. Um, Now they are Jets are really good at defending the pass, so we'll see how well Minnesota's offense gets going. But if it's going to be another rock fight, Minnesota just seems like they're going to be better in a rock fight than the Jets. I believe it's in Minnesota as well.
It's in
Uh
London.
Oh,
oh, it
it's
is in
London.
London.
So
So
I was gonna say nobody's hit 28 points in London since 2021.
and the Vikings, I believe I saw have won the last 2 times they've been in London.
They've been
Three?
in London a lot. The Jets haven't don't go to London
Yeah.
very often. The Vikings and Jags basically live half the season in London.
Yeah, so, and I believe the Vikings have been winning games there. Last time maybe I could find the stat while we're
Probably
talking,
a home
but
game.
so Vikings 2.5, give it to me.
Yep. I looked Vikings -2.5. I like that a lot. Really considered that. I did consider Indy plus 2.5, but I'm putting mine on tonight. Bucks plus 2.5.
No way you're betting on tonight. See, I was gonna ask you guys
I'm betting on
after
tonight.
oh, by the way, the Vikings are 3-0 in London. Real quick. I I was gonna ask you guys after this. I was like, what do you guys think about tonight? Because I literally have no clue who to bet on, like just like on the matchup side of things. I can't believe you're going to it. I think it's a complete toss up and like a stay
I
away.
But I think the Bucks are a better team. Genuinely, wholeheartedly, I think the Bucks are a better football team than the Atlanta Falcons this year. Baker Mayfield's been better than Kirk Cousins. The receiver room in Tampa's better. The run game honestly, Bijan has not been that good this year. He's been pretty underwhelming. I like the Bucks defense. I love what I think Vita Vea could be a Bijan Robinson stuffer this week. I like the Bucks. I really do. And we know primetime Kirk ain't exactly all that. He's not
Hey,
exactly a
Did you
demon.
not see the game-winning drive
he
against the
won.
Philadelphia Eagles?
Yeah,
Yes.
that was good, but
Big Kirko Chains has snapped all the allegations since coming
it's a
down south to
long time
Atlanta.
coming. It's a long time coming. I'm fading primetime Kirk. I and
Wow.
I like the Bucks a lot, man. I got them ranked higher in my power rankings. I think I'm taking the Bucks plus 2.5.
I mean, Frosty, Glover is the Messiah, but I don't know. This just seems like a bit of a toss. Like I like taking the Bears over the Panthers more than I do
I think
about
that's also a
this.
toss-up.
I also like Dolphins plus 1.5 against the Pats.
Oh, I'm not betting on the
Oh, I
Dolphins.
don't. I
I
see
am not
that
betting on the
game. I
Dolphins.
wouldn't touch.
Oh
I would
no,
not touch that game at
No,
all.
no.
Pats Dolphins, I think could just that could end 0-0
The under set at 36 and a
realistically.
half might take it, you know? Like they could hit that under
Honestly,
yeah, but that under is any guesses on what that under is?
36 and a half.
Oh,
I was looking at it.
oh, very low,
Yeah.
but it probably would hit. Anything else that you guys were looking at? Like, I mean, I touched on a bunch of games. We touched like honestly, a lot of like closer, tougher matchups this week. Like, I mean, Bills Texans. I don't even know how. Like, you're kind of crazy if you're taking something on that. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, honestly, you could just go Buffalo, but
Minus 1.5.
I don't want to do that. Um, Manders. I've again, Manders.
I don't mind that.
Are we fully bought in on them? Like, are we just like it's just written in stone? Like Manders are
If
I
nice.
I
if we get our power rankings out this week, I bumped him way up. I'm buying in
They're
at
pretty high on my power rankings as well.
I just want to see them play a legit defense.
That's what
yes.
I
I
mean,
want to
That
see
will be
them
this
play a
week.
real defense.
If they
for
win
sure.
this week, they'll be bumped even higher.
But Cleveland's defense fell off a cliff. They got manhandled by Dallas in the opener.
True, but
And
it's
Dallas's offense hasn't looked that good.
I think it's probably still the best defense the Commanders have played though.
I agree, but I don't know if it's like I don't think they're a top 10 defense right now.
No, they
No, but
are like 19th in rushing yards allowed. Like I think they're barely in the top 10 in passing yards allowed. Not the
the,
same unit from a year ago.
the next 2 weeks will be big. The
Who
Browns,
do
because as
they
much as the defense sometimes lacks, the pieces are still there. Looking at Greg Newsome, Denzel Ward, Miles Garrett, JOK. Martin Emerson's been pretty solid. You know, there's still pieces. Darius Smith is there. And the next week after that, they get the Ravens. That'll be a tough matchup as well. We'll really get a feel for how legit the Commanders are if they come out of that stretch. If they're 4-2 by week 7, or if they're 3-3, you know, where they are. But I like them.
I like them too. It's just I'm scared.
Yeah.
I'm a little scared. But like I mean, I think in my power rankings, I can't even remember where I have them, but like in the top five, I think.
Whoa, I don't know I'm that high.
Let me check.
Oh, top five? I put
I
about
will
14
say
spots from week 3 to
Hold
15.
on. Let me check.
the defense, Washington's defense looked like miles better
I had
Mhm.
them.
against the Cardinals than they
I had
did
them
in
fifth.
their first three
I
games.
had them fifth.
Man,
Yeah. Yeah. Why
I can't
not?
get behind that. So that means you had them above of one of the Chiefs, Ravens, Lions, Bills, Texans.
I had them over the Texans and Ravens.
You
Where
have the
did you
Bucks
put
up
the
there?
Ravens?
I bumped the Ravens way up after they kicked the Bills'
To
ass.
where?
I'll be honest.
Yeah, yeah.
I
You
sent them over to
tell them where you
Frozy.
put the Ravens.
I put them
Tell
at
them where you
2.
put.
I had the Bills at 2. I had the Bills at 2 a week ago. The Ravens kicked their ass, so I put the Ravens at 2.
In what world can you put the Ravens over the Vikings, the Chiefs, the Lions?
I
Like
think
I
the
didn't even put the I
Chiefs
didn't,
are 1. The Chiefs are 1. There's no way
okay, so
Chiefs.
I
How are
didn't
you
even put
putting
them
them
over
over the
the
Vikings?
Bills. I didn't put the Ravens over the Bills
How do you not put them over the Bills where they just destroyed them?
because the Ravens lost to the Raiders.
So
And
And
their other win was by a field goal.
it's power rankings. This
yeah,
team just beat the second best team in football and took the Chiefs to the brink.
I understand.
Right now, if
And
if they match up against the Minnesota Vikings right now, who are you picking? I'm picking the
I'm
Vikings.
picking the Ravens.
Oh, really? You're picking the Ravens. Who would have saw that one? Okay, it's well,
Okay,
I have a different
okay,
thought
wait, wait,
process
wait,
when it
wait.
comes to power. I can see your thought
There is,
process.
but there is no way we're talking about me putting the Ravens at 2 over the Commanders at 5. That's crazy.
Why are
No,
the
it's
Commanders at
not.
5? Commanders at 5 just won 3 in a row.
And that,
Yeah, against the Cardinals, Bengals, and Giants.
but they're crapping all over them.
They're demolishing teams.
Yeah.
I have the
You
Ravens
know,
at 9.
The Ravens are going to move up a good amount, but
Nine
two
is
is
I had
They
insane.
were so like they were lower and like it's just I like to slow play it a little bit.
No,
Yes,
I
they beat
will
the
I'm
say
Bills.
I'm
Big
very
win.
I'm
Big
playing
win.
this I'm playing my power rankings very much. You get a big win, bang, way up you go.
You're so volatile.
so.
I'm volatile with my rankings.
So where'd you have the Colts?
Well, that wasn't a big win. They beat the Steelers. I had the Steelers
The
pretty low.
undefeated Steelers.
I got the Colts here at 20, which is a 5 bump up, which is a bump up 5.
I have the Colts at 21.
They beat the
But
Steelers. I
I
was
don't think
never
you can
high on the
bump the
Steelers
Ravens up to two
because
off
I
of
had the
that.
Bills. Here's the way I was looking at it. So I
That's what I
put the
mean.
Ravens up
Yeah.
to 2 because I had the Bills at 2 when the Ravens beat them. I had the Steelers at 15 when the Colts beat them. So there's
Like
not as much like they're not beating in my eyes. They're not beating as good of a football team despite record because
like
power
I
rankings are supposed to look beyond record.
for sure. I mean, that's why I put them right above the Steelers. I was struggling with it a little bit. I had the Steelers at 10 and the Ravens at 9, but like I don't know. You're too volatile. I feel like you're a little too volatile.
I'm gonna be
You
volatile.
can't just
You
erase what happened 2 weeks ago.
No, but you have to look how the team's improved since then.
For sure.
The
And I
Ravens
just
yeah.
beat then the Cowboys and the
okay.
Bills.
I feel like the teams that have over the Ravens aren't like crazy. Vikings, Chiefs, Lions, Commanders, Texans, Seahawks, Bucks, and
Seahawks, Bucks, and
Bills.
Commanders. The Bucks just lost the Broncos. Are we being for real here? The Bucks
Yeah,
just lost the Broncos.
for sure.
Give
I
me
had
the
the
Raiders
Broncos
over
at
the Broncos.
12. I think the Broncos are really good. Not really good. I
No,
think they're solid.
no.
Yeah, but then do you see what the
Okay,
Bucks have
volatile.
done?
You have the Broncos
Have,
at 12.
have you seen what else the Bucks have
The Bucks
done?
have also dismantled the Eagles.
Give me the
Yep.
Bills over the
Who,
Eagles.
yeah, so am I. But the
I have
Bucks are
all these
also
teams
three
over
and
the
one.
Eagles. I have the Eagles at
The Bucks have
16.
also beat the Lions.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm
They
easily
also
putting the Bucks over the Ravens.
You think
I
that's fine? You're agreed?
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
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 Oh yeah.
also we're looking at the Seahawks.
Seahawks?
Who have the Seahawks beaten this year?
That one you can argue a little bit.
Who
I
they
just
That one
like
you can,
I
I
like the
think.
way they look against Detroit.
I like the Seahawks for
Yeah.
sure. I got them at 7. I love
That's
the
why I have the
Seahawks,
Seahawks. Yeah. I have them at 7 too.
but I got the Ravens above
I think over the course of the year, the Seahawks have looked better than the Ravens have.
Yeah, you're playing the Broncos, Patriots, and Dolphins.
The
You guys
Ravens
played the
won.
That's
Raiders?
At least the Seahawks won those.
We're
You
really
barely beat a Cowboys team
I'm
who's
like,
like not that like they're not
yeah.
all that to be honest. Right now at least.
they
You played the
beat
Chiefs well though, to be fair.
played the
But
Chiefs well. They had a bad game against the Raiders. It was a terrible football game. They played like shit. And then
and they
they
honestly didn't even look good against like the Cowboys. Like
they
if it
but
wasn't for Derrick Henry, then
they
You play
looked
a
good
good half.
until the fourth quarter.
yeah, then they almost choked.
Yeah, then they came out this week against the Bills and put all those worries to rest and just destroyed them for four quarters of football.
I think two's a little high. Maybe we can meet in the middle, but at the end of the day, they're 500 to me, which bumped them down a little bit on a 2-game win streak. So it's fair, but
In the hot hand,
I think we need to who do you guys have at last?
Patriots.
Uh,
Oh wow.
I haven't made mine yet, but we'll see.
I mean, there's only one winless team in the NFL.
Yeah, the
fellas.
Jags is fair.
So
That's fair.
I don't know. So okay, so where do you have Houston then?
me?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the team that just led a game-winning drive against the team that's
It's the worst
32nd
in
in your
football.
power rank. That is the worst team in football. Where do you have them?
Where do you have them?
6. Where do you guys have them?
5. I have them at 5, but I don't have them above the Ravens.
Oh,
I can't justify that. You barely beat the Jaguars. Ain't no way we're talking about how the win against the Cowboys doesn't mean as much as the win against the
had an
Jaguars.
impressive game yet.
okay.
The
We'll
Texans
wait
haven't had an impressive game.
That's my
Okay.
thing with Houston right now is they barely beat the Colts. They barely beat the Bears. They lost to the Vikings badly and barely beat the Jaguars. Those are 3 teams I have in the bottom of my rankings.
Honestly,
They're
I think
all
it's kind of
bottom
crazy
feeders.
not having the Vikings at 1 right now.
Maybe I'm
Yeah.
low. Maybe I'm
Weird. I had the
But
Vikings
the
at one and
Vikings,
Chiefs at two, and I thought that was just universal.
yeah,
Maybe the Vikings are the only team I'm not being just so straight up throwing them at the top for. Maybe that's
Because
having the
it's not like they
Ravens
haven't
above the
played.
Vikings is
It's not like it's
diabolical.
not like the Vikings haven't been playing good teams.
yeah.
Like,
The Vikings might be
They
the
beat
only team
the
I've not been
Niners,
volatile with.
Texans, Packers.
The
yeah.
only team I'm being patient with, to be totally honest.
Why?
I
You
don't
how
If
know.
you're if
how
you're
can you
your
how
argument is
can you
literally if you're talking about what the Ravens have been doing, then you should have the same thought process to the Vikings, who have played better teams than the Ravens.
I think part of the reason is the
How do you not
Vikings.
have the Vikings above them? Like
how
you're
can how can
ridiculous.
you have the Ravens above the Vikings?
Part of the
What have the
reason.
Ravens done better than
Oh,
what the
because they beat the
Vikings done?
Bills, but because the Vikings beat the Texans, 49ers,
Niners,
yeah,
Texans, Packers.
that
Maybe I should bump the Vikings up, but maybe that'll be my thinking. At this point,
The Vikings just took out three universal teams that were universally considered Super Bowl contenders
yeah.
back to
Yeah.
back to back weeks, and you have them below a team that just lost to Oakland.
Okay, the just lost was 2 weeks ago, man.
Las Vegas.
Maybe I should bump the Vikings up a little bit, but it's partially because like they started so low for me that it's like I feel weird putting me in that. It's still weird to wrap my head around the fact that the Vikings are a good football team.
Maybe I should have bumped Houston down a little bit, but
I think I bumped
it's self-inflicted.
the Texans at 5 was me bumping them down. They started for me at 3.
See, I have Houston at 6, which I think is fair.
I think it's fair. I just don't agree with the over the
Like the only
Vikings.
team I could agree, like see putting over them is maybe Tampa Bay. Maybe I have Tampa Bay a little too low.
Yeah.
I mean, I have the Manders over them.
I think that's
I
too
could see the
high.
Commanders over Houston. They've looked better.
They have one of the best offenses in football, man.
They had one of the worst defenses in football.
They looked really good against the Cardinals,
They
though.
did.
They
They
had
did.
the worst defense in football and then locked up like a top five offense.
No, they looked really good against the Cardinals.
Like,
All right. Well, I think that'll do it. Unprompted little power ranking session. Feel free
We'll
to
start to get our individual thoughts on our power rankings up on the channels to try and get some short form, just quick explanations on our adjustments week to week.
follow the Backfield Buzz on or the Hive Podcast Network on Instagram, Hive Podcast Network on TikTok if you want to hear more of it of us just going back. Actually, I don't know if we'll be going back and forth, but
I think it'll be more
you'll
so just us giving our
you can see our power rankings.
exactly, and we'll explain through our power rankings thought process.
And then you can agree or disagree in the comments,
Yes, exactly.
just like you could do on these episodes. Subscribe to the High Podcast Network. It would help us continue to grow the channel. Anything else, fellas, before we wrap up here?
I think we got it all.
All right. Well, that'll do it. Good week of football coming up. Lots of good games. Like we got Ravens, Bengals, and Texans, Bills at 1. It's just like, what are we doing? Um,
Cowboys
maybe,
Steelers primetime.
and then yeah, and then I was just gonna say, then you got that game on prime time, Chiefs, Saints on Monday, and then tonight. Honestly, it's like probably
Tonight's
the
pretty
best.
good. I like Bucks Falcons.
So, all right, week 5 coming up. We're already a month into the season, fellas. It's feels September just like that. Anyways, that's Cody Wiles, Logan Glover, Andrew Foster, keeping you up to date with all things NFL. Subscribe, like we said, follow us on everything if you want to see more, and keep it busting.